Assalamu alaikum. Let's cook. These streaming platforms, they seem to be a breeding ground for a lot of coonery, a lot of Negro minstrel shows, just all out buffoonery. And we know that there will always be an opportunity for some black person to make some money on any platform, owned by the bagels, owned by the white supremacists, corporate America, whatever, as long as we're willing to go on and perpetuate the stereotype, stupid, on drugs, dancing, laughing, effeminate, homo, drunk, bed wench, hoe type, no discipline at all, just looking grossly obese, ugly, whatever. If we can go on these places and act like Pootie Tang or whatever, there'll always be a so-called bag of money in it for us. Always be a job for black folks who are willing to do this. These streaming platforms like Kick and Twitch, they're putting some real big embarrassments of that stereotype of black men on these platforms, on these streaming apps. I mean, some of the biggest buck dancers that you can see right now are on these streaming apps. We seen Quentin Rampage Jackson, an ex-UFC great. He's on these streaming apps, and he fits that stereotype of a big black jock or male buffoon. He's definitely one of them. Then this guy Larry Wills, he's a biracial guy, but getting a lot of buzz right now. What they really loving is Adrien Broner and this kid Dean the Great. They're doing their job for them crackers on these streaming apps right now. Now, for those who don't know, Adrien Broner was once a very talented boxer. He made a name for himself in boxing. He came in with a lot of attention, a lot of buzz, because people thought that he was the new Mayweather, and he tried to be in every way, as far as how he acted outside the ring and in the ring when he won. But, he wasn't that. It was very obvious that, Adrien Broner, for people who actually watch the sport of boxing, you could see that he was good, but he wasn't going to be a great. It's levels to that. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys whose star power superseded his talent in the ring. So he had an opportunity to make a lot of money, and he still would have due to his star power and, his following from, his peers or whatever, hip hop, things like that. But he wasn't, he was not a new Mayweather at all, but he had that whole Mayweather little brother persona. Then this kid, Dean the Great, he's young. He's about 25 years of age, a streamer from Florida. And I had to think, like, how do I even know this dude? How do I even know this buffoon? He's a boxer also. That's how I know both of them, okay? I know them from boxing. I've seen him fight a couple times, but he's like into like celebrity boxing and things like, but he's an actual real fighter, you know what I'm saying? Now, these two are running around on these streaming apps as an example of everything that a young black man shouldn't want to be or aspire to be. But unfortunately, many of our youth will be inspired by these guys because, they look like they're living a life young, wild, and free. And Adrien Broner is not really young anymore. He's 30 something, probably in his late 30s, but they're getting money. They're making money doing it. So here's my thing with these guys, Adrien Broner and Dean the Great. Coons come a penny a dozen. You will always have a lot of black people willing to take the position of a stereotypical buffoon as long as it's a bag in it. You'll always have somebody who's willing to be a prostitute, as long as it's a bag in it. That's never going to stop, okay? So it's not really so much, about them. It's pointing the finger at Adrien Broner. Yeah, it's a disgrace, but you'll always have some obedient Negroes lined up to be this stereotypical buffoon as long as they can make some money. And from what I've seen in these clips alone, I don't think that, most people listening to this sit back and watch these guys, because I don't. I see clips and things like that. Most of us don't even know much about streaming at all, but just from the clips that are just going around that you can watch, and I'm a big follower of the sport of boxing. These guys right here, you can check off every stereotype on the list. Every stereotypical male, black, Negro buffoon, they're it. Alcoholics, partying, no sexual discipline, acting like they want to get with every woman, acting effeminate and homosexual. Adrien Broner always acting like he's going crazy or he about to fight or he in some kind of beef, always drunk, and he's running around with his stomach hanging out with a big fatty liver. That kid trying to kiss each, just doing all kinds of nasty, ignorant, disrespectful, embarrassing things, you know, and it's all for money, man. It's a shame that these guys put themselves in these positions. Adrien Broner is a guy who we once seen actually burn real money. Now he's got none. He's running around with slurred speech. He sounds like he has the CTE disease, which drinking alcohol makes that even worse. You know what I'm saying? He's extremely out of shape and bloated looking. He's dancing, you know, a real embarrassment. And for some reason, these two are running around, you know, again, like I said, acting very effeminate and homo, and they're wearing the same matching outfits, like the same shirt or whatever, almost like what you've seen with like the clip that was going around with Diddy and Meek Mill, you know, just some real homosexual type stuff. I don't know who told these guys to do that, but this is the bottom line, man. If these guys were into anything other than what they're doing on this stream, if they were representing themselves in another way, period, they wouldn't make any money and they wouldn't get any attention. Okay, this doesn't take talent, what they're doing. To be a great boxer takes talent, which Adrien Broner had, you know what I'm saying? But as long as you got Negroes running around like this and doing this, especially if they have already established a name for themselves some kind of way, whether it be sports or whatever it may be, the white man will always give some of his crumbs to these Negroes, man, and make them happy. And people are willing to watch because they like it. It's entertaining. A lot of people are fascinated by this stuff. Some of us are disgusted by it. And a lot of people really just want to see Adrien Broner crash and burn. To be honest, a lot of black people watching this are just waiting to see him die or something like that. You know what I mean? It's really embarrassing. People like to see this stuff. This is like their entertainment. You know what I mean? And you got guys like these two that are willing to do anything for it. I mean, I wholeheartedly believe that these two, Adrien Broner and this Dean the Great kid and many others, will do anything, and I mean anything, for some money. Anything. Okay? This is a man here who says that he blew his money. He's about 36, 37. I'm talking about Adrien Broner. He has about 10 kids, he says, and he says his child support is $17,000 a month. You know, so that's what it's come to for him. And he's actually always had a problem with alcohol. It didn't start now. It's just now you're just seeing the real him with no training and eating bad food and just being an alcoholic on camera. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? And he's getting paid for it, to walk around and party and things like that. There's always a place for black people who are willing to act like a stereotypical buffoon like these guys right here. Dean the Great, he's called Rampage Jackson. He's on him too. And Adrien Broner. Now, something happened recently, and I got to give a big shout out to the brother Terrence Bud Crawford, who was the greatest boxer of his era. He just retired, but Adrien Broner, they know each other. Terrence Crawford and Adrien Broner, of course, they came up in boxing together. They're about the same age. They know each other. Now, on these streaming minstrel shows, these guys, they have guests that they bring on and things like that. Typically, it's usually other coons. Like, you'll see them running around with like Ray J and Sex Red, that girl, and again, Javante Tank Davis and Rampage, other coons usually. And Adrien Broner, he asked Terrence Bud Crawford to come on the stream. And Bud was like, I can't do that. Terrence Bud Crawford said, no, I'm not going to go on and promote this buffoonery. Alcoholism, you're on here looking all fat and bloated, this and that. You know, he told him, get yourself in shape, do something other than this. He said, I cannot go on this stream with you and do this, you know? And the thing about it is, it's not like Terrence Bud Crawford came out blasting this and saying this. We only know about this because Adrien Broner actually spoke about the conversation that he had with Terrence Bud Crawford. You know what I mean? So it's not like Bud went off and started saying, oh, he asked me to do. No, he spoke about it, and it really must have struck a nerve for him because he repeated it. And he said, you know, what Terrence Bud Crawford actually told him. And I think that this is what has to go on more so with a lot of these sellouts and these shine bone buck dancing Negroes. I think that we shouldn't support them. We shouldn't support their nonsense and their buffoonery. You know, family, friends, whoever, like that show Intervention, when they used to call people in and say, hey, we're going to stop doing this. I think that this is what we have to do with these coons right here, these sellouts, because they have a lot of value to white supremacists. They hold a lot of value. A lot of their stuff can't get done without a Negro sellout and a coon, which is very important, man. So I think the best way is just to do what Terrence Bud Crawford did. We're not, I'm not coming on. If you're in that position, not going to support it, none of that. You know what I mean? Don't give these people any alley-oops. They start thinking that what they're doing is cool. But I think that his response was as best as it gets. Nah, brother, I can't do that. You know what I mean? But anyway, people, these streaming apps, again, as long as these white supremacists have these things going, they're available. There's always going to be some Negro coons and buffoons lined up to take the job and do the work. So I think that maybe we should just not support these people. That's it. Anyway, easy.